plastic will be flying high and far on the hills of Brandywine Creek State Park. It's time for the annual Brandywine Breeze tournament, and to see who finishes with the lowest score, stay tuned as Disc Golf Monthly starts now. Hello and welcome to the June edition of Disc Golf Monthly, where we are at the Brandywine Breeze tournament in Wilmington, Delaware. This tournament is an annual spring tradition that ushers in the warm weather disc golf season. This year the winds of Brandywine are calm, as there are no high winds to speak of today. Brandywine is largely an open course with little vegetation and extreme elevation changes. Players must be able to throw far to be able to get a chance to get a birdie. Temperatures are mild at 66 degrees, and while winds are at 12 miles per hour. Today we'll be featuring the Men's Open lead card, and to get a look at this group, let's check out their profiles. In first place, from Newark, Delaware, we have Vince Sutlick, shooting a 51 in the first round. In second, from Chichester, PA, we have Tim Reyes, shooting a 53. And tied for second, we have Brendan Hauer from Forest Hill, Maryland, shooting a 53 as well. In fourth place, we have Jason Tiligatis from Elmer, New Jersey, shooting a 54. And rounding out the group in fifth place, from Wilmington, Delaware, we have Mike Moser, shooting a 55. While Vince is sitting atop the card with a two-stroke lead, while Tim and Brandon are right at his heels, behind by 2 strokes. The big surprise here is Mike Moser being in 5th place. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we will have second round action to see if Vince can hang on and if Mike can make a run at moving up to first place.
We gotta wait anyway.
And welcome back to our coverage of the 2017 Brandywine Breeze tournament. We're about to start the second round. Vince Sutlick has a 2-stroke lead over Tim Reyes and Brandon Howard. We're starting off on basket 1. This is a par 3, 387 feet. This is generally a straight shot. The only technical things you have to worry about is those trees that you see on either side of the tee pad in front of you. And Vince is a left-handed player. He was trying to get the disc to hit the wall to keep it on this side of the wall, so we'll have a chance for a birdie, but it was a little too high. And Tim Reyes is also a left-handed player. He's going to try to get a lot of that disc could turn a lot, so it would stay on this side of the wall. It wasn't successful either. Here's Brandon Hauer. Brandon throws a relatively straight shot. It's hyzering out. And here's Jason Tiligatis with his first drive of the round. Just a relatively straight shot, a little bit of turn, and it's fading away. He'll have a putt from there, though. And here's Mike Moser, last on the card. And he is going to go with a sky roller. That was an interesting choice.
Thank you.
But with this being such an open layout on this hole. We'll see how that works for him. Vince is a little bit of wind to contend with, as you can hear. Here's Tim trying to get over the wall. Tree branch knocked him down. Here's Brandon putting for birdie. And he just fades away. There's Jason, also putting for birdie. That just doesn't work for him. And here's Mike Moser right up against the wall. And that's a solid putt for a great way to start the round with a birdie. Here's Vince putting for par. And he just gets a little too high. There's Tim Reyes putting for par. And he makes it. So at this point, Mike is now tied with Jason. And he's 2 strokes off the lead. And we're moving on to basket 2. This is a par 3, 239 feet. This is a downhill shot, and the basket is located behind that group of trees you see ahead of you. And the winds sound like they're getting a little heavy. Mike just doesn't get enough turn to get beyond that grouping of trees. He's going to have to play out of there. And here's Tim with his shot. Tim gets a wide enough, but he may have went a little deep. We'll have to see where he landed. Here's Brandon with his drive. Brandon's going to go with a high flick shot. And came hyzer down for him. Let's see how that played for him. Here's Jason Telegatis with his first shot. And he looks like he got a wide enough shot where he avoided that vegetation in front of the basket. And Vince is going to go with a stand and deliver drive. A very high hyzer shot. He kicks off that tree. And Tim did, in fact, go a little too far. He has to play back, as did Brandon. The winds are really picking up here. And he sails right over the basket. Here's Vince. Vince just gets a little low. Here's Mike playing out of the bushes, looking for his second birdie. And he makes it. That's a great way to start off the round with back-to-back birdies. And here's Vince putting for par. And he just gets a little low and it rolls away on him. So at this point, Vince needs this putt to stay in first place. There's Brandon. And so now we have a 4-way tie for first place with Mike Moser on top. We're moving on to basket 3. This is a par 3, 285 feet. And Mike Moser's going to go first. And that skip was awfully close to the basket. He could have had an ace. And here is Jason Telegatis. As you can see, this is a downhill shot. Players throwing right-hand, backhand have to make sure they get a left turn with their drive to stay on the right side of that rock wall. As you can see, Jason just skipped down. And left-handed players have a more greater challenge. As you can see, Tim Reyes played that perfectly. When you're going in the backhand, you want to get enough hyzer, but you have to be careful with that tree. And Vince is going to go with a very high hyzer shot. When they're really picking up here again. Here's Brandon with his drive. He's going to play out over the open field. And it's going to skip back nicely for him. Jason did skip off over the rock wall, so he even has a stairwell to deal with that putt. And Mike Moser makes his third consecutive birdie, starting off the round with 3 birdies in a row. It's very solid. Here's Brandon for his birdie attempt. And Brandon makes it. That's his first birdie of the round. Here's Vince. And Vince misses low again. Vince is struggling here early in the round. 4 straight bogeys. And Tim records his first birdie of the round. So now it's Mike and Tim tied for first place at 61. As we move on to basket 4, this is a par 3, 434 feet. This is the beauty hole of the course. It's an extreme downhill shot. In years gone by, players would used to throw a very high hyzer shot up over the trees and off to the right of the fairway and just let it hyzer into the basket. Now these trees have gone up so much that it's difficult to get up over those trees anymore. So a lot of players, if you're a lefty, they'll go with the backhand shot like Tim has thrown here, and he makes it over the creek. It's a really fantastic drive. Other players right-handed will try to throw a backhand turnover shot and take the same route that Tim just took, or throw a sidearm shot. What Brandon appears to be doing here is just playing up to this side of the creek. So he'll just have an approach to get as close to the creek as he can so he can lay up with an approach shot. And we have Jason practically doing the same thing, just trying to get as close enough to the edge of the creek so you can lay up on the other side and get your 3. And here's Vince with his drive. He's going to throw a very wide shot. And it's hyzering back. And he cleared the creek.
Yeah. But you're out.
There's Jason's attempt. He catches a little limb of that tree, but that doesn't hold him up. He'll have his par from there. And here's Mike, practically in the same position. He just throws a little Anheuser shot, lays up to the basket. And Brandon is going with a sidearm shot. And he went a little far beyond the basket, but he should putt from there. Here's Vince with his birdie attempt. And it just came up a little short. There's Tim with his birdie attempt. He's the last one to have a chance of the birdie. And he just pours it in very nicely. And that's his second birdie of the round. So Tim, with the only birdie out of the group, is now in sole possession of first place with a 63 by 1 stroke. As we move on to Basket 5. This is a par 4, 685 feet. This is an extreme uphill shot. This hole is regarded as being the beast. It's the only par 4 layout on the course today. Looks like he's going to go with a roller, and he does not. Goes with an air shot instead. There's a very low shot, and it gets taken down early. And Vince with his drive. There's Jason with his second shot. Going with a backhand. Gets a lot of turn off that. He may be in a tough spot. With that tree line up ahead, you don't want to get too close to that or too far away. There's an opening ahead, which you want to get through to be able to make your putt. If you're too far away from that opening, which it looks as though Vince is right now, you're going to have a very tough approach shot. And here's Brandon. And there you can get a little glimpse of that opening just up ahead. There's an opening on either side of that bush that's up ahead. And it doesn't look like anybody has a really clear shot to get through that just yet. Here's Tim in his second throw. Tim, that just did not work for Tim. He was looking to get more turn out of that. Well, Jason's looking right at the opening. There's to the right of that, right just in line of sight with that pole. Looks like he may have made it through. And Tim is definitely not in a good spot for an approach shot. He's going to go with an overhand throw to see how that worked for him. Brandon is also in a tough spot where he doesn't have a line of sight, so he's going to try and go with an overhand shot. Puts a very soft touch on that. And there's the basket. Mike's going to go with an Anheuser shot. And that should work for him. Tim's putting for par with a downhill shot. It's going to be tough. He just keeps it low. Jason's also has a slight downhill shot here. And Jason just poured that right in. And Vince is putting for par, and he just gets it low once again. Mike Moser putting for par, and he makes it. And Tim Ray's with a bogey. So at this point, Mike and Tim Ray's are tied once again at 68. Jason Holgatis is one stroke behind it at 69. We're moving on to basket 6. This is a par 3, 406 feet. And here is Mike with his drive. And he puts a air shot very high in the air. Brandon looks like he's going to go with a flick shot. And he gets a perfect amount of turn on that. And a nice skip at the end. Jason going with the backhand. Looks like he's going to try with a turnover shot here. Very slow shot and a really perfect amount of turn. Looks like he's going to be closest to the basket from where he is right now. We'll have to see what Tim can do. And here's Vince. Mike Moser got a little too much turn. He's in the tree line. He's going to play out with a turnover shot, and that works for him. We'll have a look at the basket from there. Here's Tim Reyes with his second shot. He'll go with a jump putt. That'll just fade away. Doesn't even get close enough to the basket. Here's Jason. And it just drops down a little too soon for Vince. And here's Mike with his putt, and he makes it. So pars for everyone. Mike and Tim are still tied at, now they're at 71. We're moving on to basket 7. This is a par 3, 203 feet. Although this is a short layout, you do have a tree line to contend with, and it's an uphill shot. Mike's going to go with a hyzer shot that he's just going to look to drop down in front of the basket. Brandon is going to go with a sidearm shot. And he keeps it kind of low. We'll see if he got a little bit of a skip and that got him close to the basket, as we have Jason on the tee now. Here's Vince with his drive.
So this is the hole on the windiest day ever.
Tim's just going to go with a jump putt, see how close he can get. Fade a little early. Here's Brandon shooting for birdie. And he makes it. There's Jason shooting for his birdie. And he also makes it. This drops into the cage. That's 2 birdies so far in the group. And Mike has a drop in. So that's Mike Moser now is in sole possession of first place, with Tim only managing to get a par. We're moving on to basket 8. This is a par 3, 336 feet. This is an uphill shot. The basket is on the other side of that group of trees. Mike's going to throw a very wide shot and get a nice skip. He's going to get through that tree line. Now it's Brandon's turn. Let's see what Brandon has to offer. Jason's going to try and keep that low. Vince is going to get knocked down early. He didn't clear that tree line enough. He got knocked down some of those branches. Here's Tim with his drive. Tim doesn't look like he's going to get enough turn here. And he's going to get caught up in that grouping of trees. Here's Vince for his second shot. Puts it high in the air and it just kicks off the top of the basket. Here's Brandon putting for birdie. And he makes it. That is his third birdie of the round. And Mike recording his fifth birdie of the round. Mike now has getting more comfortable by the basket with this lead. It's 2 strokes now. Now we're moving on to basket 9. This is a par 3, 340 feet. So we're playing to the red basket. That's off to the right. There's Brandon with his drive. He'll play right up to the wall. Here's Jason with his drive. Vince gets right to the wall, gets off the wall. He gets too much turn. Vince with his putt, he kicks off that tree, goes back on that side of the wall again. Tim was unsuccessful getting his putt over the wall. Vince once again kicks off the basket. Brandon's going to go with a flip putt to get that in. So Mike gives up 1 stroke to Brandon. Brandon's 1 stroke behind now. And we're going to take a quick break. Don't go away. We'll be back with second back 9 action at the 2017 Brandywine Breeze Tournament.
We finally bought a place.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
At the end of the month, we have nothing left to save. How is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
And here we are in basket 10. Welcome back. It's par 3, 455 feet. Brandon with his drive, he keeps it low. He'll stay out in the fairway.
shot. Oh, look, nice correction, Vince. Come on, you're coming out, right? Keep on coming.
It was an amazing shot by Vince.
Thanks, man.
Jason with his approach shot. He's just going to lay up to the basket and get his three. Here's Brandon. He's going to hyzer it in. It's a very risky shot. The wind could have took that disc in the air and pulled it away, but he that worked out for him. Here's Vince with his putt. He's going to drop in low. Tim just gets unlucky with a low shot. Mike Moser's going to shoot for par. He's going to hold on to his one-stroke lead over Brandon at this point. And Mike still with that one-stroke lead. Each of the top four players are one stroke apart from each other. As we're moving on to basket 11, this is a par 3, 310 feet. So this is a downhill shot. Brandon's going with a flick shot here. He's going to have to be careful of that vegetation off to the left. He's going to play up and over that vegetation, looking for it to hyzer in. We'll have to see how close that puts him to the basket. Mike's going to go with a backhand shot. And he goes up and over that tree. So he's also going to try and hyzer that in close to the basket. Let's see where that puts him. Here's Jason with his drive.
I saw it hit the ground, so that's... Oh! Nice call on the drop.
Well, the winds are picking up once again. Oh, looked like it affected Tim's throw a little bit. It looked like that went a little lower than he expected. There's Brandon with his second shot. And Jason records a birdie. That's his second birdie of the round. Tim made it through. He's also shooting for birdie, and he makes it. That's his third birdie of the round. And Mike also records a birdie. That's his sixth birdie of the round. And after 11 baskets, we still have Mike at a two-stroke lead. As we're moving on to basket 12, this is a par 3, 325 feet. This is also going to be a downhill shot. Players are just looking to make a placement shot here. Mike's going to go with a backhand with a tight
Thank you.
spike hyzer. That's going to get him close to the basket. He should be able to putt from there. Jason's going to play with the route that's much the same, a little lower, a little more turn. And that will get him close. He should putt from there. Brandon's going to go with a flick shot. That's going to land right at the basket. And here's Vince. Vince is just going to go right in front of the basket, a little short. So everybody has a chance at a birdie here. And Brandon just gets a little upset with himself as he lets that fade in front of the basket. There's Tim with his birdie attempt. And he comes up a little low. There's Mike with his birdie attempt. This will be his 7th of the round, and he makes it. 7 birdies for Mike Moser. Now Mike advances his lead to 3 strokes over Jason as we move on to basket 13. This is a par 3, 412 feet. So this is an extreme uphill shot where that rock wall will play into effect as they get closer to it. The basket is at the edge of the rock wall. And players have to be careful not to let their drive carry over that wall because they'll be putting back to the basket, but they'll be putting uphill. This is going to throw something that's going to come up a little low. Vince's perfect approach shot. Jason's going to go a little too far. Also throws the perfect up shot. Here's Tim Reyes putting for par. And Mike Moser retains his 3-stroke lead over Jason. Tim and Brandon are now tied at 92. We're moving on to basket 14. This is a par 3, 365 feet. This is an extreme downhill shot where players are playing to the shorter basket that's in front. It's that that tree that's in front. The basket's just beyond that. So to get a birdie here, players just need a placement shot where you just go just beyond that big tree that's in front. Vince is going to go with a hyzer shot. He's going to come up short. He's going to have to play around that big tree. There's Jason with his drive attempt. And that worked perfectly for him. Vince is going to try to play through that gap. Did not work well for him. He got struck down early. There's Mike going for 2. It's just going to not work. It's going to fade away. Vince is Tim records his 4th birdie. And Jason records his 3rd birdie of the round. And Jason picks up a stroke on Mike. As we move on to basket 15, this is a par 3, 311 feet. Here's Jason with his first throw.
Up a little. Nice shot. Perfect.
Brandon's going to go with a very wide hyzer shot. It's going to go around that tree. It worked well for him. There's Mike. Let's see what he has to offer. Mike's also going to play around that tree, but he's going to get a little too much turn. Looks like he's going to get caught up in that rough. It's Brandon shooting for a birdie. And he just kicks off the rim. It's Tim also shooting for birdie. And he makes it. So now with Jason getting that birdie, there's a 1-stroke difference between him and Mike. Jason's really putting the pressure on Mike as we move on to basket 16. This is a par 3, 365 feet. Here we have Tim with his drive. Tim's going to try to go with a roller shot, but it just doesn't stand up for him and it rolls away to the right. Here's Jason Tiligatis with his drive. going to go with a roller shot. And that just didn't go very far. Here's Brandon with his drive. Brandon's also going with a roller. He doesn't make it through the thick grass. That's going to slow him down, but he is going to be in the middle of the fairway. Here's Mike. Let's see if he's going to go with a roller as well. Looks like he's setting up. Throw a roller shot. And he does, a sky roller. And that's going to get caught up in that tree. There's Brandon with his second shot. He's just going to lay up to the basket. And that's pars around for everyone. And now we're going on to basket 17. It's par 3, 339 feet.
Wow. It went through.
That was a fantastic drive for Vince. There we have Brandon Hauer with his drive. Brandon going with a flick shot. And looks like he's going to come up a little short. Here's Mike. Goes with a turnover shot. And that fades out on him. He goes off into the rough. There's Jason with his second shot. There's Tim with his second shot. Oh, wow. Jason just did not have enough on that for it to roll over and stay in the cage. It bounced off and went out. Here's Brandon with his putt. And that one stayed in. Brandon records his 6th birdie of the round with that shot. Here's Vince going for birdie as well. And Vince makes it. We have a 1-stroke lead with 1 hole to go between Mike and Jason. Here we are on our last hole, basket 18. It's a par 3, 486 feet. This is an uphill shot. The winds are kicking up a little bit here. Vince is going to go with a backhand roller, and that's going to roll very nicely for him. It's good progress up the hill. Here's Brandon with his drive attempt. He's also going with a roller.
Everybody's rolling today.
And that had a lot of speed on it. And like a good distance for him. Here's Tim. Let's see if Tim's also going to go with a roller. And he does. And it just doesn't look like it's going to stand up for him.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, at the very end it does.
Nice shot.
And he got pretty good distance. Here's Jason. Let's see if we have 4 backhand rollers. And Jason's just going to go with a backhand. Here's Mike. Let's see what Mike has. Mike also goes with an air shot. Has a lot of turn to it. He's going to come up right in front of that grouping of trees. Here's Jason with his second shot.
Oh, yeah.
Jason gets a little too much turn on that. He's going to have a difficult putt for 3 with that. Mike's going to go with a hyzer shot. He's going to let it skip towards the basket. So between Mike and Jason, looks like Mike has the easier putt to make. This will be a critical putt between the two with that 1-stroke difference. Here's Jason. Now Jason needs to make this and Mike needs to miss his putt to force a tie. And he just gets a little too tall. Here's Tim putting for par. And he makes it. Brandon's putting for par. And it just gets a little too much turn and it bounces out on him. Here's Mike putting for 3. At this point, he does not need this for the win, but he still makes it, and he's going to finish with a 2-stroke lead for Mike. There's Vince putting for par. And that'll wrap it up for our coverage of the 2017 Brandywine Breeze Tournament. Mike Moser goes from 5th spot on the card to a 2-stroke win. Congratulations to Mike Moser. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Well, that was a fascinating comeback by the Delaware deucer, Mike Moser, as he started off the round with 3 straight birdies to find himself tied for first place after 2 baskets into the round. The lead went back and forth a little bit with Tim Reyes, but by basket 7, Mike had the lead all to himself. By the end of the round, he finished with a 2-stroke lead over Tim and Brandon. Well, that's all the time we have for this month's show. Thank you for watching Disc Golf Monthly, the show that takes you one step closer to the sport of disc golf.